skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Schrager's, a.k.a. Lord Kilby, and this is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Captain Positive, so many monikers for young Schregers. Special guest today. We're in the middle of the NFL season. He's a repeat guest. He has a personality. Watch out. From the NFL Network and from Jeopardy. It's Peter Schrager.
What's up, my friend? I got the text that you invited me on. I didn't know when it would come, but this is my repeat second performance. We did it last year, and I still get feedback from it from people like, "Hey, loved you on Kilborn." Well, thank you. So I'm glad to be back.
Let me hit you with a question, a technical question. As far as, are you one of those guys? Because I have friends who are in broadcasting, and when they have to do a podcast, they kind of shut down with the technical stuff. Like, I don't know how to select my mic. Are you one of those guys that wants to pause for poise and learn how to do it? Or are you like, I don't really know, and I don't really have the time to think about it? Which
it's a shame too. I think I could make a lot more money if I was on Instagram. I would make a lot more money if I was on TikTok. I would probably have a greater brand, if you will.
Yes.
I just don't have the patience.
Yeah.
So when it comes to going into a studio every day and having someone do my makeup for me and having a lovely hair person put a comb through, that is work to me. Then I get home in this little home office and it's like, you even are like, hey, just turn a light on. I'm like, turn a light. I don't know where the light is. I like start panicking. So yes, I am that. I am a professional all the way through. But when it comes to like, hey, can you unhook this or can you lower that blind? It's as if you're asking me to move a mountain.
So I wanted to ask you about Jeopardy, because I saw some of it. I watched some of it. They made me watch the commercials. I saw the end with Judy Blume where you got that, but Mira Sorvino won. So, but you were great. First of all, how did you get on? How did you get on the show?
Great question. So it's Celebrity Jeopardy. There was a writer's strike and an actor's strike going on when they were casting for Celebrity Jeopardy. So let's just say not everyone was running on to go to Hollywood sets. And yet there I was with my arm raised high. Who wants me? The truth of the matter is the executive producer of Jeopardy is a gentleman named Michael Davies. He recently took over last year, and he started Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? He started Watch What's Happening Live with Andy Cohen over on Bravo. He also started a little show called Good Morning Football in the NFL Network.
Oh.
So we have a great relationship. I've been working under Michael's guidance for the last 7 years. And when he took over Jeopardy, he and I have kept in touch. And the Celebrity Jeopardy, he says, there's no one who knows more sports trivia and also just knows general potpourri as far as pop culture and history and all the Jeopardy stuff as you. And I said, look, I don't throw my hat at everything. I don't try to insert myself. I will just say this. I grew up on Jeopardy.
Oh.
When I was a child in New Jersey in Freehold, the Schrager family, we didn't talk about our feelings too much after dinner. What we did was we put on a TV in the kitchen, on a little Magnavox TV. My brother, 4 years older than me, Justin, he would sit there. I would sit there. My dad would come home. He would commute in from the city, a 2-hour commute back. He would just put his bag down. We'd sit down. We'd have some London broil that my mother cooked us.
Oh.
And we would just sit and watch Jeopardy and shout at the TV. And that was basically the interactions we had growing up for years. Trebek raised me. I mean, that's what it was. And I loved it.
You said multiple things in there. Let me unpack what you just said. I just we didn't really worry about our feelings is probably one of my favorite lines because I'm one of those guys. I mean, I've always been on a kind of an even keel, on a high. My brother calls it a boyish enthusiasm for life. But what did you mean by that? You didn't self-analyze too much? You guys were just...
There wasn't a lot of, Peter, how was your day? How did that make you feel? I live in progressive Brooklyn right now, and we're raising a young man here, and he's my boy, and he's 7 years old, and the questions we ask him about how school went, but it's never, did you get in trouble? It's, well, how did you feel when you did that at school today? Or I was laughing with my wife. I said, he's the most hydrated child in the history of humans. He's always got this little thermos he has to carry around. Is the water filled? Is the water filled? Like, this did not exist when we were kids. Like, it just didn't exist. So we would come home and it was my dad slumping into a table and a chair, eating his dinner, and us watching Jeopardy. And afterwards, him maybe saying, you got basketball tomorrow night. So
right.
It's a different time. And Jeopardy was a great connector to our family, different generations, different times. And I was raised on it. I loved it. And I loved it right through college. So I told Michael, I said, if there's ever an opportunity, I wasn't talking Celebrity Jeopardy. I don't consider myself in that light, but I want to be a competitor on Jeopardy. And sure enough, the moment arose and he said, you got to be there in 4 days. Can you get to LA in 4 days? I got 4 days. Had noticed. I imagine someone dropped out, if we're being honest. And Craig, I went, and let me ask you, have you ever been on Jeopardy?
No. In fact, the game show that I would do well on, we used to play the board game Password, and I found it very creative to give a clue, for couch, I love playing Password, but Jeopardy, I've said to people, I said to a friend of mine, I go, I'm not well-rounded. And I'm proud of that. Like, he goes, that should be the name of your podcast. I know some stuff, like too much NBA, too much trivia there. I know too much about some jazz music. I know a little bit about architecture, but it's like some of the stuff I didn't, but my parents, my dad did a crossword puzzle every day. My brother was lone valedictorian. Let me ask you this. How was your experience on Jeopardy? Because you came in second. Mira Sorvino won. She went to Harvard, for those of you who don't know. How was your experience? What would you give your grade?
10 out of 10, and I wouldn't change it. I'd rather come in second. I played valiantly. The truth of it is, and I might end up doing a book on this experience alone. It was so life-changing. Is the buzzer is everything. So the rule at home that you don't know is, you see the clue and say the clue is, this gentleman is the writer of Romeo and Juliet. And the second the word Juliet is finished, they open up the buzzers and you can buzz in. Now, if you buzz beforehand and you see it and Ken Jennings hasn't finished the clue and just says, this gentleman, and you start buzzing, they lock you out for 3 seconds.
My Lord.
It's all about the buzzer. So there's questions. Of course I know. Like, there was sports questions. There was pop culture music questions. I'm buzzing, and if you watch it, I'm going like this, so frustrated. And if you're viewing on YouTube or wherever, I'm going nuts. Here's where I lost. Mira answered 26 questions right and 9 wrong. I answered 19 questions right, only got 3 wrong, but I didn't get in there enough. She had the buzzer down. She was fantastic. And I'll tell you, Craig, what's so fascinating is you're doing it, and you're up there and you get over the nerves, and and you write your name as you always imagined you would on the board, and it's there, and you're on the Jeopardy set, and it's as surreal as it could be. You've watched it a million times, and there you're there. My brain kind of went elsewhere in a great way. You just kind of black out. And the categories that I was crushing are categories I would never think. I cleaned up. I swept the bridges category, where they show you a bridge.
Right.
I'm not a bridge expert, but I'm like, boom. What is the Ben Franklin Bridge? Boom. Wow. What is the London Bridge? And I'm looking around. I'm like, I never would have prepared for this. I don't even know where I have this knowledge.
Right.
There was one on pop music, but it was called E-I-E-I-O. And it's got only the letters E and I filled in, and you had to fill in the rest. This musician did it. Debbie Gibson had it. One Direction had it.
Wow.
Backstreet Boys did it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm Michael Jordan scoring 63 against the Celtics. I'm in the zone. I just couldn't get anything wrong. And then the Final Jeopardy thing comes along. And here's my story on Final Jeopardy. Mira is a Harvard graduate. She works for the UN now. She's incredibly impressive, and she was super sweet. And we're in this battle, and she's up about 1,000 points going into Final Jeopardy. And there's this whole liar's poker thing about how much do you want to wager? And just in the last commercial break, Mira explained to Ken Jennings, the host, or the last interview, she has 3 kids, 2 of them being teenagers, and they all happen to be in the studio today. And we look over and we all wave and we cheer. The topic was tween lit, and my heart just sinks. I'm like, oh, I don't have teenagers, and all I can think about when I'm wagering is who wrote those freaking vampire books? Who wrote the Hunger Games? I don't know. It's Jacob and Edward and what are they called, those vampires? So sure enough, I bet 7,200. And the question, the clue is, this author later regretted just not coloring her book Margaret. And I knew it. I'm like, that's Judy Blume. It's me, God, Margaret, whatever it is. I got it. It's me, Margaret, whatever it is. So I go Judy Blume. I went 7,200. Mira went the full boat. She went
12,000 or whatever the hell she went.
And she got it right. And so I have no regrets. I would have, if I bet everything, I still would have lost. And tween lit, I went toe to toe with a woman with 2 teenage kids. I felt pretty good about it.
I thought you did great, by the way. And I thought you were, you're brilliant. You're in your element. You're in the zone. Did you afterwards pull anybody aside and say, hey, this buzzer thing's kind of a joke? What's going on here?
Yeah, I have since done many correspondence with the Jeopardy folks on said buzzer. And here's where I was at a slight disadvantage. I was told with a couple of days notice, and now I didn't do all the research. Maybe that's on me. They paid for my flight out there. Maybe on the flight, I should have researched the best Jeopardy ways to win. And there are several books. And apparently the many players of Jeopardy, I'd say 99% of them going in were well-versed on buzzer and buzzer. And I came in the day of, they explained the buzzer and I, all right, whatever, fine. And I found myself doing the stupid buzzer wrong the entire
time. That's a bummer. And who counted the number, the questions you answered correctly, and how many you got wrong? Is that you afterwards?
No, they do. So Michael Davies is the new showrunner. He took over when they had the change of guard, and part of they do it now. They do full stats. You can dig in. You can see who had the quickest buzzer speed, who got the most questions right, how much you wager, what would have happened. They do it as if it's like a basketball game and next gen statistics in football. They have it all now.
Right. That's pretty exciting. Well, I thought you were great. How did Kyle Brandt get on Wheel of Fortune?
Same. It's all at the same lot. So I got asked to do Jeopardy. Kyle got asked to do Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. He went up against 2 comedians, and whereas I lost and came in second but was valiant, Kyle had this awkward thing where he won but was dominating to such a point that it was an uncomfortable watch in a lot of ways because the other 2 contestants weren't getting even a letter right. And Kyle ended up winning $169,000 for Make-A-Wish, and it was great. But if you're watching from an entertainment value, it sure was a one-sided victory.
Didn't he also win, but also get Vanna White's number? Is that what I heard?
So it was crazy. So I don't think. Have you ever heard Vanna talk?
No.
I don't even know if she was mic'd up. I had no idea she even had a microphone. Kyle comes on and takes a shot. And he could act like it was all impromptu. And it's funny, if you're just listening to this and you didn't see it, Kyle Brandt, my co-host on Good Morning Football, comes on to Wheel of Fortune, and Pat Sajak says, all right, and Kyle, we understand you're a fan of the show. And he right away goes, all due respect to you, Pat, it's not about you. That woman right there is my childhood crush since I was 8 years old. I told myself if I ever get on Wheel of Fortune, if I ever have a chance to meet her, I'm going to tell her as much. I'm a married man. My wife is in the audience. And Vanna White, you are my boyhood crush. And, in the line he said, which was crazy, was, you're the puzzle I've always wanted to solve.
Yeah, I heard. That was good. That was good. That was, I said Schrager wrote that for him. I'm kidding. But anyways, yeah, that was funny. You guys are great. You guys are great. You're having a blast, right?
Yeah, it's fun, and I think you probably learned it, many years as a tandem on SportsCenter with all your many co-hosts. It's like, I could finish his sentence, he could finish his mine. We're great friends off the air. It's really fun and it's a lot of work. And at the end of the day, we're proud of what we do.
So this airs the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I assume you have a big Thanksgiving plan with the family. Is that what you do? You got one of the questions? I just had my friends Alex Salkin from Family Guy and Goldie,
cool.
And I said I've never cooked a Thanksgiving turkey. I don't think I ever will. And I do like cooking. I think it's too much work. Do you cook a Thanksgiving turkey?
God, no. We live in an apartment in Brooklyn. There is a little place downstairs that's like a catering place, and I have no shame in telling you, we don't even go big. We just get a couple things. We get a turkey. We get it. It's already done. Everything's set up. And we probably get a little, macaroni and cheese and mashed potatoes and maybe some stuffing. But there is no deep fried turkey on a green egg. There's no crazy family I work every Thanksgiving because it's football. So I finish up the pregame show and I come back home and I'm so happy to just sit on my ass on my couch and just eat whatever is served in front of me. I do not cook.
Do you consider yourself a foodie?
Yes, but in a different way than maybe you think. I consider myself a restaurantee, where I will go to the best restaurants and I love eating the food and I dissect it. And whether New York or LA, like I have so many thoughts and I go, but I do not cook. And I do not even, I mean, I watched The Bear and I thought it was fascinating.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
a lot of that stuff, like the beautiful cinematography, that doesn't do it for me. It's not like, a glaze or an amazing caviar dish. Like that doesn't do it for me. I just like being in the restaurant and the scene, and I love good food.
Yeah, there's an energy. Years ago, there's a book by George Orwell called Down and Out in Paris and London, where the guy's working he's the plunger, he's the dishwasher, but he talks about all the stress in the back in the kitchen, and then this beautiful presentation out in the restaurant, and it's a performance. And I go out to eat way too much. I wanted to tell you before I talk LA restaurants, this episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks, and I've always been a fan of Omaha Steaks. I actually like cooking. And they send me gift baskets. And then if you use code Kilborn, which is coming up, there's an ad coming up. You don't have to worry about it.
No,
and I could actually, but you don't cook. I could send you complimentary.
No, I would if with instructions on what to do.
And does your wife cook?
Yes, but like we come in with great humility. We're not trying to be the next Julia Child. I'm not looking to be the next Emerald Lagasse. I just want to make edible food. I'm not looking to win any awards.
So you mentioned off air that you come to LA and we should grab a bite. And I'm a foodie. I don't like the term foodie. I'm a glutton. It's the gluttony tour. Same. I'm a gourmand, but I've been to a lot of places. I'm just going to name some places in LA. I know you say you usually stay in Beverly Hills. You've been to Mastro's in Beverly Hills?
I have.
Okay. You've been upstairs where they play the music, where it starts?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've been there many times. I used to go there after the show. I don't go very often anymore.
Great story real quick if I can. I went with Randy Moss one time and he was wearing basketball shorts. And I said, Randy, you can't get into Mastro's with basketball shorts. We walk in, he's got giant extra large basketball shorts on. They said, Randy Moss, right this way.
I've seen some athletes there. I saw the late, great Kobe Bryant there. I saw Odell Beckham there. I was with a young person, and we were at the bar, and they turned around, and Baker Mayfield in a T-shirt with his girlfriend. He had just been drafted. He was there.
Awesome.
So the athletes like that place. What about Polo Lounge? You ever been to the Polo Lounge at Beverly Hills Hotel?
I have been to the Polo Lounge one time, and my celebrity sighting, which I freaked out about, and no one else at my table seemed to care. John Lovitz was in the corner, and I'm like, I took a beeline, and I'm like, Mr. Lovitz, I never do this, and he's like, just confused, like, who are you? I went though; it was like early. We went like 5:00. What I like even more though at that hotel is that little luncheonette.
Yeah, everyone loves that place. Yep,
I don't
the
even know
counter
the
down
name
there. Yeah,
the counter. Oh my God, that is a beautiful, beautiful breakfast and a very cool scene.
Yeah. Have you? So you have access when you stay in Beverly Hills to take an Uber to restaurants, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Instead of just walking in Beverly Hills,
I don't
go to Musso and Frank is the one you got to go to.
I don't even know Musso and Frank. Is it legendary? I am so embarrassed. I don't even know.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. So it's the oldest. It's like the oldest restaurant in LA. It's in Hollywood. It's like. Have you been to Dantana's?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
it's like Dabney Coleman. I've eaten it.
Yes,
it's great.
Exactly. It's like Dantana's, but it's bigger. If you, they use it in a lot of movies. They use it on Bosch. They use it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino, the scene with when they're talking to Pacino in the restaurant. That's Musso and Frank. I think that's our spot. We won't tell people the date. We don't want to get mobbed, but I think I'm leaning towards that. I think you'll like the vibe. They serve martinis with a sidecar, a little pewter cup, and a carafe of ice. You have a little extra vodka there or gin, whatever you drink. I think it's exciting.
Oh, I love that old school LA stuff. And there's a new spot. It's a members club that I was invited to by a friend who's a member called Bird Streets. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and the dining experience was exquisite.
Wait, you went there?
I went there. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was fantastic. I went a couple of weeks ago, and a friend was in town, and another friend of ours is a member. And I don't know what the membership costs, how you become a member. I don't ask. I'm a guest. I show up there. But the menu had my friend who's a member had his name engraved into it.
Oh wow!
Said,
oh wow!
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
And the food was exquisite. It was awesome. So very cool vibe. Very Sunset Towers ish.
Yeah.
Where you're
that's a great spot. My opinion on private clubs. I don't necessarily want to be a member because I don't want to see the same people over and over. But when you're a guest like you were, it feels great. I go to Soho House. It's a beautiful building, high, great view. The one I got to tell you, I've told it on this pod. I'm going to tell it very quickly. There's some of the old school men's clubs. There's the one called the Jonathan Club downtown. They also have a branch out near Santa Monica, Malibu. Jonathan Club, a little younger membership. And then the California Club, old conservative. Members of the Jonathan Club, they say, run LA. Members of the Jonathan Club run LA. Members of the California Club own LA.
Oh, it's an interesting dynamic. I try to figure out the dynamics of all these clubs. The US Open was at one of these golf courses that, the LA Country Club or the LA, and I said, how come I never heard of that? They're like, because you'll never be a member. And it's like the most coveted thing. I said, well, I've heard of Riviera and Bel Air. They're like, those don't even hold a stick to this one. So I'm still learning the dynamics of who's at what club and what matters most as far as all that stuff goes.
That's like the golf course, Cypress. It's private up in Pebble Beach. So people play Pebble Beach and Poppy Hills, but they don't get to play Cypress because it's private. Okay, buddy. I get to talk. This is a kick for me. I get to talk a little football with a analyst who watches all the games, which is a lot of work. And I, of course, just watch my Minnesota Vikings. So people are smarting. This airs after last night's Chicago Bears game, but we're recording after the debacle in Denver where the Vikings outplayed them, but had 3 turnovers. And let's first start with Josh Dobbs. What are your thoughts on Dobbsy?
I have long known Josh Dobbs. I've gotten to know him through years of him being in the NFL. I as a sideline reporter back in the day, I had experience with him. I feel like we've had him on Good Morning Football 3 or 4 times. And I'll tell you, during the pandemic, we were starving for interesting guests. And we got pitched, the quarterback for the Steelers, Josh Dobbs, just finished like an internship with NASA and he wants to talk about. And we had him on. He blew us away to the point where we were like, let's make him a recurring guest. And he was a third-string quarterback on the Steelers. So Josh would come on. And then, when he was with Tennessee last year for those 2 weeks, they signed him right before the end of the season. And he ended up starting in a huge game, a winning game against the Jaguars. They would have made the playoffs. They lost. I said, that's pretty incredible. Little did I know that Josh Dobbs would be traded 8 days before the start of the season to the Arizona Cardinals, beat the Cowboys, the mighty Cowboys in week 2, and then have this whole ride with the Vikings. It couldn't happen to a greater kid. He's a really good kid. Yeah. And it sounds patronizing calling him kid, but I still look at some of these guys who are 10 years younger than me as kids, but it's no surprise because he's one of the most intelligent and curious minds in the game. So when Kevin O'Connell brought him in, and I've spoken to Kevin about it, Dobbs just devoured that playbook and was like, let's go. And they've hit the ground running. They really get along. And I don't know if you saw the very end of the game. They lose to the Broncos on Sunday night last week. Sean Payton shakes Kevin O'Connell's hand. He chases down Dobbs. And it's like, he just wants to talk to him and he congratulates him and he shakes his hand. And I talked to Sean after the fact. Sean's like, well, we actually tried him out. So we have a history a little bit back when he was coming out of Tennessee, but like, you don't see that every day where opposing coaches chase down the quarterback to get a conversation with him because they were so impressed with how they performed.
Oh, I thought he was chasing him down to apologize for the helmet hit on it, the dirty hit.
That guy's suspended 4 weeks. That's the apology you get. Yeah.
Bounty Gate continues.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. I'm sorry. So do you think Dobbsy's any good?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a starting quarterback for the time being. And I think, Cousins is obviously the superior talent, but I think they can win with Dobbs. He does stuff with his legs that Cousins did not do. And the players, they rally around him. They love his toughness. They love his ingenuity. I think the Vikings are a playoff team, and I think Josh Dobbs will lead them there.
Yeah, well, that loss was very frustrating. I talked to a lot of my Vikings friends, and it was when you outgain the people. And, I got to ask you, but before I get to KOC, my logic is, whether you bring back Kirk, I think they will, maybe at a discount, maybe even bring back Dobbsy. We got to see how he continues to play. I still think you got to draft a quarterback in the top 10. It's a deep draft. You got to take a swing in the draft. The Bears have done it twice with Trubisky and Justin Fields. We got to take it, and I would do it sooner than later. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
I do. I don't think they're going to have a top 10 pick. So they're
I'm saying trade up, like the Bears.
You're saying go for it. So look, Mahomes is a great story on that. And that's the Chiefs had Alex Smith. They were a fine team. They were going to go to the divisional round playoffs every year. And they said, we're never going to win the Super Bowl with what we have right now. And whether they said it or not, they obviously, that might have been in their heads because they went with Alex Smith on the roster and traded a bunch of stuff to go up and get Patrick Mahomes, who eventually got him over the top. Cousins is a pure free agent. If they don't think Cousins is the guy, let him walk, and then we'll roll with this with either Jaron Hall, who they currently have, who they like out of BYU, and they re-sign Dobbs, or you bring back Cousins for 2 years, 3 years, let him finish his career as a Viking, and then you maybe go for that move. The truth of the matter is, I think Kirk Cousins is still, as he's been his entire career, a top 15 quarterback, but not a top 7 quarterback, which is a great conundrum to be in. And that's kind of the deal with Kirk, was like, he'll put up the numbers, he'll play awesome in big spots in some games. And then at the end of the year, you look at it, you say, are we getting over the top with this guy? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. The people that were frustrated with Kirk Cousins was top 15 quarterback, paid like a top 5. That was a few years back. And this year he was playing like a top 5. He was playing extremely well. The problem we all have, and I like Kirk more than some of the Vikings guys. There's a guy on Purple Daily who has Phil Mackey's a friend, and he's like, he just loves ripping Kirk. But Dobbs, a mobile quarterback, an extremely mobile quarterback, can do. And it just changes things. And it appears that to win a Super Bowl, you need a quarterback that's more mobile than Kirk Cousins. That's kind of the issue. And I just want to say, I've always enjoyed watching Russell Wilson play. Mm-hmm. Always enjoyed. For some reason with Zim, the Vikes would always play an out of division game up in Seattle every year. Yeah. Made no sense. But I watched this guy play, and he's so mobile. And then he did it the other night, Sunday night. I think it was 4th and 6. It was 4th down, and he gets out of trouble and dinks it up for a first down on
Sutton. Unbelievable. It just finds him 4th and 2.
So you can win with Kirk, I guess, if everything else was perfect. And as I continue to ramble, because I love talking about my Vikes,
I was going to ask you a question.
Yes.
So obviously Vikings fans are a huge part of our Good Morning Football audience because they're such a fervent fan base, and they're they're a national team. Whether or not you understand that as a listener or not, like, there are Vikings fans everywhere. And I think it goes back to the 70s Vikings and Tarkenton and the love for the Purple People Eaters, and it goes down generation after generation. Do you carry yourself as woe is me beleaguered Vikings fan, or do you carry yourself as, we've had a great franchise, we've just never won the big one, but we've been a really, really lucky and blessed fan base?
Yes, that's the one. I've talked to friends that are Jets fans, and they won their Super Bowl with Joe Willie, and then they've been bad ever since. We've always been good. We've always had talent. Chuck Foreman, Ahmad Rashad, Anthony Carter, one of my favorites, Joey Browner. The list goes on and on. I love the hitman Harrison Smith. A guy named Adrian Peterson played for him. Diggsy left us. That's okay. Justin Jefferson, lots of talent. The people in Minnesota, they want to win. It's an empty feeling that we don't have a Super Bowl. I know how difficult it is. I think there were 2 years we could have won. Brett Favre and Bounty Gate, we could have, gotten there and beaten the Indianapolis Colts. And then, of course, when we were with Denny Green, 15-1, where Gary Anderson missed the field goal. But anyway, let me go to KOC for 1 second. I like please. Kevin O'Connell. I
Great
like
guy.
the offensive mind. I like his play calling, although I'm allowed to. I love my brother and my late father, but I disagreed with them. I'm allowed to disagree with KOC. He does some stuff that's ridiculous. He gets a little cutesy. Did it against the Chargers, wouldn't call the timeout. Mm-hmm. Kirk threw a pick at the end. We could have beaten the Chargers. We were right there at the goal line. He didn't want to call timeout. He wanted to surprise him. Pete Carroll did that. He wanted to surprise him with a pass at the goal line. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't work out for either.
Right. So in Sunday night, 3rd and 1, opening drive, he does Hawkinson as the QB pitching it to Dobbsy, and he's not a running, he's good scrambling out of the quarterback position when the field is spread out, not smash mouth. Your thoughts on that play call?
Yeah, come on. It's a dangerous play. And when it goes that way, Kareem Jackson can, seriously hurt him. He gets back up, licks his wounds, and he keeps on fighting. But obviously it's not ideal. I looked at a play that Kevin's good friend Sean McVay ran. they did this. They tried to do what Cliff Kingsbury and Lincoln Riley did at USC with this delayed flea flicker with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford almost lost his spleen on the play. Like, you put these quarterbacks out there and they're going to get clobbered if they're not protected. That said, the same people who are lamenting, Pittsburgh Steelers for their lack of ingenuity and their lack of creativity, and it's the same run left, run right, pass 5 yards. They want those plays. So yeah, I don't mind it as long as Dobbs is still standing. I'm cool with it. Let's go. And Kareem Jackson was suspended 4 games for that hit, so the league is weighed in on it.
Oh man, I
get it. You want.
I want a little more poise with the trick plays and the cutesy plays. Poise. I know it's exciting. We don't need to do it right away, and I don't think that's the right one to do. But that's okay. One of the things I also like about Kevin O'Connell is after the game, he goes, I got to be better. He'll take the blame. Now, the first question in the press conference was from Mark Craig from the Star Tribune. He says, hey, third play of the game, you did that, he called it an exotic play.
Got your quarterback nearly, go on.
And KOC, he was pretty stubborn. He said, there's a running element that he has. And I really like that play call in the moment. So he defended himself. And again, I say the running element is not necessarily as a running back. It's as a scrambling quarterback. But my question to you is, and I don't think you'll know this, but I'm going to ask you, does Wes Phillips, the offensive coordinator, who he knows, does he say, hey, coach, I don't know about that. In hindsight, does he say, I wouldn't have done that?
Dynamics there.
What do you think?
I don't know. They've got actually a couple really smart minds. I think one of their young coaches, a guy named Tony Sorrentino, who just happens to be a Jersey guy. They got Chris O'Brien. They got a bunch of guys there, and they're all young and hungry, and they want to do their best. I think KOC is the ultimate decision maker, and I don't think anyone's pushing back in the moment and saying, coach.
No. Right. I'm saying after the fact.
After the fact, I'm sure there's a film discussion, and let's see if we ever get that opportunity again. What's a better opportunity so we don't get our quarterback nearly mangled?
What do you think of Brian Flores?
Great,
love him.
Great in this role, and I picked the Vikings to go to the playoffs for the season. When they start off 0-3, I heard a lot about, you overrate Cousins. It wasn't about Cousins, and it wasn't about, and how are you going to do it with them losing Dalvin Cook? And the defense was atrocious last year. And the mere addition of Flores, and I didn't even know about the offensive line making this jump. The offensive line is great this year. Last year was terrible.
Yeah.
So you take a bad offensive line and a horrible defense, and you make it a good offensive line and a really well executed, fun defense with Ivan Pace Jr. undrafted flying all over the field, and Daniil Hunter leading the league in every category and getting no love whatsoever. Flo is doing a great job, and Flo obviously has been waiting for an opportunity to show the league he could still coach a thing or two as well.
Yeah, we're all worried he's gonna leave too early with the head coaching opportunity. And by the way, the offensive line, somebody said 10 years, hasn't been good in 10 years, but it wasn't good when Zimmer was there, because they had to have Sam Bradford just to get rid of it. Case Keenum was actually mobile. I mean, it was bad, but thank God we have a good offensive line. I love watching the team play. It was devastating the other day. And anyways, okay, so am I allowed to, I don't know your contract with the NFL Network, am I allowed to talk to you about the NBA?
Yes, I am.
You played in the league. You played in you averaged 13 a game in junior high. What'd you say?
Absolutely. Low block. Give it to me. I was a passing big man. I was like Arvidas. I was like Detlef Schrempf off the corner. I could shoot. I was good. Yeah, I could play. Let's talk hoops.
Draymond Green, pugilist, go.
Yeah, not my type of player, and yet it seems like his teammates love him. And it's like that hockey. What was now I'm thinking here.
Not Sanderson, the guy for the guy.
McSorley is probably best.
Okay.
It was Gretzky's guy, but I was thinking more like a Joey Kosar type. Like if he's on your team, you want him.
Yeah.
Bob Probert, Yzerman, and Fedorov love that guy. Not everyone's favorite guy. That to me is Draymond Green. He also happens to be one of the greatest winners of all time. The whole doing this time and time again, is he a bad guy? I don't know. And then he has access to everyone because A, the media loves him. B, he's got his own podcast. So you're always going to get his side of it. I don't think pugilist. I think does everything to win. And if he's on your squad, he's your guy.
I like saying the word pugilist.
It's a good word, right? Is it pugilist or pugilist?
It's pugilist, although the fact that you said it that way, do you know, this is always, as a perfectionist, it's always bothered me. There are words with two accepted pronunciations.
Give me some.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Eschew. Eschew.
I would say eschew. I would say
Okay.
with a soft.
He eschewed the timeout. He has flaccid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flaccid.
I've seen, I would always go with the former on that. Flaccid.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of other ones. Those are the two that jump out.
Can I tell you the stuff that kills me? Also similar with language. I'm a language. Mine is a lot of the names. Anyone who mistakens Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, and says Mike McDaniels, I immediately want to drive my head through the screen. And when I hear a professional broadcaster do it, it's even worse. There are certain names of players that I am often frustrated with, and then I hear it being done, and I so hypocritical, like Kamara and Kamara. I still don't understand, but when I hear it mispronounced by somebody else, I get very frustrated. I say, "That's your job. Come on." So the names are what get me, and I give the hockey announcers so much credit because some of those names, I don't know if I could even try to attempt to say without offending someone.
That's where I dominated ESPN with the hockey names, and I'm joking. No, I'm joking. But I didn't follow. I followed hockey in the 70s. My favorite player was Jean Rattel, the center for the Rangers, number 19. And then, of course, I discovered basketball, and then I stopped following hockey. But I liked it. I liked it in the 70s. There was something I was going to ask
hoops. Give me more hoops. I went to a Nets game. I had one Sunday off because Fox sent their Fox NFL Sunday guys to the Air Force Academy, and they said, Veterans Day, we're only sending these amount of guys. You're going to be off. I'm like, wow, a rare Sunday off. First time in years. Took my son to Nets Wizards. And let me tell you a story you'll appreciate. I get my son up before the game. We walk all the way up. It's one of those deals. Is the security guard going to stop us? No. Is the security guard going to stop us here? No. We're keep walking. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Get right up to the court. And these guys are shooting around. And Corey Kispert, Washington Wizards, comes on over and throws the ball to my son. My son passes it back, and you'll love this because it all ties it in. And I said, man, I used to love you on Gonzaga. And he comes over and he says, Gonzaga? I go, yeah. And I'm like, did he go to Oregon? Did he go to Washington State? And my son is 7 years old. He's I'm talking to this handsome basketball player. And he goes, tell your dad, to my son, it's Gonzaga. I go, damn, that's cool. That's cool. And it was really cool. He talked to us for a while. I'm like, I don't know if he plays. I don't know if he's a sixth man. I don't know where he is in the rotation. Corey Kispert's got a fan in me.
Gonzaga. Yeah, we played them. What did Gonzaga? I always said Gonzaga, I think.
Me too.
Yeah, we played them at Montana State. I didn't sadly get in the game. I was a freshman. I didn't get in the game.
And I told Spokane or no?
No, this was at Bozeman, Montana.
Okay.
And I told this story before. I'll make it real quick.
Please tell me Stockton's involved. Give it to me.
He's the focus of the whole story.
Give it to me.
So the assistant coach's job is to scout the other team and give us in the locker room the rundown. He shows the starting five of Gonzaga. We're playing 10 guys. No. And, this guy's a forward. He can't shoot. Keep him off the boards. He crashes the boards. He's an offensive, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get down to the point guard. A guy named John Stockton, one of the top point guards on the West Coast, along with Leon Wood from Cal State Fullerton.
Leon Wood went to Gonzaga. Okay.
No, he went to Cal State Fullerton. The guy says, John, one of the top point guards on the West Coast, along with Leon Wood, Cal State Fullerton, and Leon Wood is an NBA ref. Became an NBA ref. Stockton, he's got pretty good quicks. Our African American point guard could not bring the ball up against him.
He's amazing, just like a glove.
And
right?
After the game, we're like, pretty good quicks. What are you talking about? We made fun of the scouting report. The guy, Tony Hampton, was our point guard. He was the quickest guy on our team. He couldn't bring the ball up against Stockton. He kept stripping him.
Do you think
Stockton had really long arms and big, strong hands, and he was,
Do you think this generation has any idea about Stockton, or is it like all just YouTube of Kyrie and Lonzo Ball?
No.
I'll tell you, there's a game they'll play back against the Lakers from like 89, 88. So not even 90s new uniforms. I'm talking old Jazz, and it's Thurl Bailey and it's Mark Eaton. And I think Stockton goes up against Magic and scores like 38 and has 20 assists. Like Stockton was unbelievable.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share a holiday story from my happy, happy childhood. I was 10 years old, probably about 5, 6. It's not important. And it's a day I'll never forget. It was the first day in my life I received a gift of Omaha steaks. Wow. My grandfather sent us Omaha steaks for the holidays. My father quickly unpacked the box, looked me in the eyes, and said, "We're eating in an hour. Go put on your finest clothes." And then he said, "Omaha, Omaha," very dynamic, years before Peyton Manning said it. So I put on my corduroys and a blazer with the French blue mock turtleneck. This was also my Halloween costume. Ever since kindergarten, I would go as Jay Gatsby. Anywho, I sit down at the dinner table and I have simply the greatest meal of my life. A filet mignon from Omaha Steaks. So tender. They aged their steaks at least 28 days, and so began a lifetime of sending and receiving the glorious gift of Omaha Steaks. Just last week, I made filet mignon from Omaha Steaks. I sear it for 2 minutes on each side, then in the oven at 400 for about 7 minutes. Perfection. It's kind of a rush. Well, big news. The holidays are here, and the Jolly Elves at Omaha Steaks have your wish list covered with guaranteed perfection during their Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. Go to omahasteaks.com and take advantage of 50% off site-wide, plus use code KILLBORN at checkout to get an additional $30 off your order. Score delicious deals on tender, juicy, extra-aged steaks like their mouth-watering bacon-wrapped filet mignons, a holiday gift favorite, or cozy up to easy-to-prepare meals and carefully curated gift packages. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor and endless value. Visit omahasteaks.com and save big with 50% off site-wide, plus use promo code KILLBORN at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Hurry, because Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals at Omaha Steaks will be gone before you know it. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code KILLBORN at checkout. Minimum order may be required. It's kind of a rush. I'm going to go a little hoop here. I'm going to tell you something, and I'll tell you what you think of this. So, because you just reminded me of it. Do you know who who's in first place in the Western Conference right now? The entire Western Conference. It's okay if you don't, because you've been following the NFL.
I don't know.
Okay. My Minnesota Timberwolves. They're ahead of the Nuggets. They have three losses, and they have the best record currently in the Western Conference, and Boston in the Eastern Conference 11-3. Timberwolves are 10-3 when we're recording this. They're going to play Philly tomorrow night at home. They're playing very well. So, and I'm very pleased. And Finchie is a great coach. So last night they were talking, and this is interesting. Finchie said the way his offense is, there'll never be a guy who has 14 assists, like the way the Stockton or Magic would play, a true point guard, because he has the ball moving. And I remember saying to him, I had him on the pod, and I said, I was watching a game. You guys got the rebound. Then they threw it to, in the middle on the break, they threw it to Naz Reid to lead the break. And then he whipped it out of bounds in the corner. And I was saying, please don't give it to Naz. And coach said, and he said it last night too. He said, I like to keep the pace up, and I have to live with some of the turnovers. So he says last night, he goes, you're going to get different guys with 4 or 5 assists, but we're going to get some turnovers because he wants the ball movement. Now, we all love ball movement, but I kind of like the true point guard, the Ricky Rubio type,
Yeah, but you also, I think that's also a piece of get everyone involved, keep everyone engaged in the game. How many times do you see in the NBA today, the big man doesn't touch the ball for 6 possessions and just zones out completely.
Right.
So I would imagine that's part of it. It's psychological too. Like, you're a part of this thing. Go get your shot. Go dribble the ball a little bit.
Yeah. I used to say that when people, Jordan shot so much. And I said, if you pass it to Horace Grant for a dunk, if you drive and just dish it to him, he's going to play better defense. He's going to be involved. So I get that. Do you have a favorite NBA team? Is the Knicks?
It's the Knicks. Grew up, oddly enough, a New Jersey Nets fan in a really cool era, the Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman, Chris Morris era, the Brendan Byrne Arena. And then I moved to New York City in the early 2000s, and I really enjoyed the experience at the Garden. And
Yeah.
the Nets were wheeling and dealing once, and then they moved to Brooklyn, and they were wheeling and dealing and bringing in Pierce and Garnett, and then Durant and Kyrie, and it wasn't really my style. While the Knicks were kind of the down and out team and playing in front of a real passionate fan base. So I, oddly enough, really like both teams, and they are supposed to be rivals, but they can live in similar ecosystems in my head.
I like that. I'm a Vikings fan, but I love Brett Favre and I love Aaron Rodgers. So I am a Viking fan, but some of them, I live in LA, so I watch from afar. But when I was a kid, when I discovered basketball, I started playing in second grade. My dad was born in Queens, and he went to Teaneck High School in New Jersey in Rutgers. He was a Knicks fan, so my first team was New York Knicks. I missed the first championship. I saw the second championship.
So 73.
Yeah, my favorite player was Walt Clyde Frazier. I got his book called Rockin' Steady, A Guide to Basketball and Cool. And I love the Knicks. I love Madison Square Garden. I've been there many times. I even played ball there on the weekend when Rebecca Lobo played for Liberty. We used to play one-on-one. She'd open up the gym and we'd play one-on-one. No, she couldn't guard me, but let's not get into that. Well, that's not important. I love the Knicks. We beat them last night. That's who the Wolves beat last night in Minnesota. We beat them by 17. That's okay.
I'll tell you, when Brunson came along last year, that lifted the entire city in a new way. I don't think anyone expected him to be as good as he was. And I went to those playoff games, and now I'm a big time, Celebrity Jeopardy guy. So I get to go to some of these cool experiences. And the truth of the matter is, the city is a better place when the Garden is rocking.
Yeah.
Whether it be Rangers or Knicks, it's a cooler place to live. And it became like a who's who in a little bit of a way, which I'm guilty of. I like that stuff a little bit, but it was also a fun event where everyone at the schoolyard picking up our kids is like, hey, you watching the Knicks game tonight? What'd you think of the Knicks game? Like it's great for sports, but it's also really cool for New York City when the Knicks are relevant.
I love the Knicks. And I remember when they had the draft lottery and they got Patrick Ewing, I was so fired up. And I don't know I know I told this story once on the pod. I don't think it was with you. I don't think it was with Iron Eagle. But anyway, there was a rumor that David Falk was the agent for Michael Jordan and also Xavier McDaniel. And some people might say ex-Xavier. I say Xavier. I don't
Xavier, it's fine.
know. Okay. And Jordan said to David Falk, "You got to get him out of New York because they're our rival, and Pippen he can't deal with X. He can't deal with him." So David Falk got him traded to Boston. I have no idea if that's a true story. Do you ever heard anything like that?
No, that's unbelievable. But I don't anything involving David Falk and anything involving David Stern behind the scenes. I will not put it by either one of them to make the NBA a better product. It sounds like it was the Wild Wild West in those 80s.
Oh. Anyway, how's Tibbs doing, by the way? You like Tibbs?
Yeah, I do. I obviously everyone walks into that situation knowing how it ends at some point, and the players sometimes get burnt out by it, but he's got the attention of the fan base, and I think everyone questions some of the rotational stuff. But at the very end of the day, this Knicks team plays hard, and it seems like they like playing for him and with each other.
I loved him. I first of all, I was so happy that Kevin Garnett got a championship in Boston. He was the assistant coach with the great defense to Doc Rivers. He was the assistant. Then I loved him in Chicago. He came to Minnesota. I was so fired up. Trades for Jimmy Butler. He's also the president and the head coach. That was a debacle. I also got tired of him he didn't have much of a personality. In the post game, he'd always say the same thing: "Is we've got to play better defense. Got to play better defense." And I wanted to tell him, you guys scored 12 points in the fourth quarter. Sometimes the other team's going to be hot and you better keep up.
You mentioned the name Goldie earlier as a writer, and you've mentioned it before. I listened to several podcasts. One of them I listened to is Mike Gibbons and Greg Fitzsimmons. They do one
very funny, very funny. Gibby. So I have three guys, Gibby, Goldie, and Alex Sulkin. And Goldie and Alex Sulkin have a podcast called A Typical Disgusting Display.
Okay, I got to listen because Gibby always references Goldie.
Yes.
And I want to be a part of this whole crew, including you. Like, I want to be a part of the LA comedy writer thing because I feel like I could hang. And I listen to Fitzsimmons and Gibbons. I feel like Gibbons and I would be best friends. And did he work on your show when you were?
Yeah, so he was the head writer. He was a producer, head writer. And I used all three of those guys on the air. Alec left to go not directly to work on Family Guy, to work on something else, but he left and he said, "You got to hire my friend Julius Sharp, aka Goldie." His real name is Jonathan Goldblatt. He's a stand-up comic. And so he replaced him. Goldie and Alec are tight. Gibby and Goldie and we're all tight. And so I hung out with Gibby and Goldie used to come up to my house all the time and we drink and I'd make them watch Sinatra live at Madison Square Garden because I wanted them to hear Howard Cosell. Just ordinary people, the main event. It was called The Main Event. It was Sinatra singing. He was singing at Madison Square Garden, and they'd show Carol chanting, "Hello, Dolly," and they would. And anyways, so those guys, we would have so much.
Is there a
fun.
Text chain with all you guys together? I feel like that's
we do
the funniest text chain.
But if you want one of those guys to join us for dinner, with Gibby or stuff, but Goldie is they're great. They're all great. They're just great guys.
I'm such a fan and such an admirer of all you guys who not only did comedy, but did the daily comedy nightly show. And for you, it's multiple places. Because I do the daily morning show and it's a different vibe and it's everything, but like to go out there and perform every single day and put on the best show possible. There's some person visiting from, Iowa or Topeka, and they're one day in LA, they're going to see a filming of your show and to put on the greatest show possible. I have such great respect for it.
Yeah, it was a blast. So I put him on the air and then we went out to Dan Tana's one night and after dinner, of course, Kilby paid because, I was the host of the show, but hey, we can bill this to Roger Goodell, our meal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we go out, we walk out to get our valet, the car for the valet at Dan Tana's, and Gibby's already out there. And I walk up to him and he goes, "Go away. Someone recognizes me," because he had been on the air. It was so funny. That's amazing. Those are the kind of jokes. He goes, "Someone recognizes me. Go away." Because I would put the writers on the air. And then they would be like, "Hey, I love when Gibby's on the air, blah, 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 blah."
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
All right. Let's see what I have next. I don't know if you're a world traveler because I have the Life Gorgeous quiz coming up. I just want to know, do you have a favorite European city?
See, the truth is I'd never been to Europe until I met my wife, and our few trips to Europe were honeymoon, 1-year anniversary. So exotic locales, resorts, beautiful. And then I've gone for the NFL a bunch of times where it's a work thing. So I haven't done the backpacking through Amsterdam and all that, but I have a favorite.
You don't have to backpack. You can go to hotels, but that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say my favorite city that I have been to has probably been London, and just the cleanliness, the elegance. I live in New York. I love the city, and I feel like there's a real vibe in London, and I really just took to it. That's
my favorite city. I'm an Anglophile. I'm English on both sides. I've been there once in the 90s, and I just love it. A great city. I've been to Paris, that's stunning. My big oversight is Italy. That's where I have to go. But I don't travel much. I don't like flying, but I've been to Geneva, I've been to London, I've been to Paris, I've been to Stuttgart, because that's where I got a plane ticket in from San Francisco from Tower Air. $200 round trip, late 80s, Beautiful. $200 round trip.
Tower Air
into Stuttgart from SFO.
Have you been to Greece before?
No. My brother went, it's one of those things, the Isle of Corfu, and they tell us about all these topless beaches. When you're 22, it's like, come on, this is, now that we're jaded, we don't need to. All right, brother, I'm going to go right to the Life Gorgeous quiz. I got fun ones here. These are simple questions, profound insights. This is Peter Schrager from Jeopardy and from the NFL Network. This is an opinion question. Best game show host of all time. Best game show host of all time. I don't know if I don't have strong feelings about this, but I wrote one down because I thought he was funny.
I think I know where you're going, and you're going Family Feud, likely, right? No,
what's that? Say again.
I would assume you're going a Family Feud direction, which has had multiple great hosts. Of course, the greatest of all time. However, I would go, and this might sound trite or easy. I think it's Trebek in Jeopardy. I do think it is, because he did have one-liners and he did have a wit to him, but it was never about him, if that makes sense.
Hey, I'm trying to remember, because I wrote this guy down, and who was the Family Feud host? Was it who I think it was? The original? Gene Rayburn.
You were thinking?
No, it wasn't Gene Rayburn. You're right. You're right. Richard Dawson.
Richard Dawson's who I'm thinking of.
That's the guy. I thought, okay, for some reason I wrote down.
I know he had a tragic and like I grew up with Ray Combs, and he had a tragic end to his life, and it's not worth Googling or anything. Ray Combs was great. So everyone now is like, oh, Steve Harvey, and I'm sure he's fine, but I have a lot of heart for Family Feud pre-Steve Harvey as well.
Yeah. So Richard Dawson he was on the panel on Match Game. Gene Rayburn was the host, but I thought he was very funny at Family Feud.
Would kiss the women on the lips.
Yep. It was crazy. Those are
crazy.
Peter, it was a different time.
I know.
Have you ever heard of Yorkshire pudding?
I know what it is. I've never had it.
It's served with, because I was going to ask for Christmas when we were growing up, my mom would make prime rib and Yorkshire pudding, and it's not really pudding. It's this eggy, fluffy muffin type thing that you put gravy on. It's not sweet, and it's a really nice muffin called Yorkshire pudding. It's one of my favorite things.
Wow, I never had it.
Who wrote the Christmas song? The chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Who wrote that? Do you know?
Is that Bing Crosby?
No, he sang it, but it is two guys wrote it. I'm looking for one name. He's a famous singer, and he recorded it, but he also wrote it. He wrote it in June or July in Bel Air.
What year?
Give me what year did he write it?
Yeah.
Oh, he was back he might have been in the 50s. Maybe it was in the 40s he wrote it. I'll give you his initials. MT.
Give me one more clue. I love this game. This is like my favorite game. Give me another clue.
Trying to think of one of his famous songs. His first name is Mel.
Mel Torme, the Velvet Fog.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. I just want to see what
Can I tell you something? My son, 7 years old, named Mel.
Really? Is it short for Melvin?
Nope.
Just Mel, huh?
I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. My wife and I, we always wanted to name our kid like an old school name that's just short. A Mel, an Irv, a Sal, a Stan, something like that. And we went with Mel, and he's the only Mel in his school, and we love that.
That's good. That's unique. What's his favorite sport?
Hoops.
Oh, good for him.
Hoops. We play in this little Brooklyn league, and for years, one of the other dads was Steve Nash.
Oh, yeah. Nash was out there.
Nash was great. And so now he's elevated a little bit. He's on this little travel team, and then one of the other dads, JJ Redick.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So my son is seeing greatness when he goes this place. He sees what it is. He just has to make it happen and kind of.
You said he was 7. What grade is that?
First grade.
Oh, that's first grade. Okay.
Yeah.
Are sneakers a big deal then or not?
They are for a lot of kids. For him, no. He's still rocking the Velcro.
Next question. This actor played mafia roles in both Goodfellas and The Firm.
Frank Vincent?
That might be right. That's not who I was thinking of. Is he in both of those or not?
He's definitely he's in Sopranos and Goodfellas, and that's it.
Did you ever see The Firm?
I've seen The Firm a million times.
Remember at the end? You remember when the mafia comes down from Chicago? Remember the main guy?
Yeah. Let's think here.
His actress daughter went to Harvard.
Okay, Paul Sorvino.
Correct.
There he goes. Chopping the garlic in the prison. So, of course, yes.
And we finish up, because I haven't had you on in a while. This is one of my absolute favorite questions. It's a food question. And I like it because I don't eat a lot of carbs, so it's a treat for me. It's very simple. 3 favorite sandwiches of all time.
I have different places I'll go for these sandwiches, but let's just give you the topics here. I'm fine with how about this? I'll go corporate. A club sub from Jersey Mike's will do me every single time. I know that sounds crazy living in New York with Brooklyn, with all the great bakeries and sandwiches. I can go to any American city and get a club sub, no bacon, Mike's Way from Jersey Mike's. I'm not a paid endorsement.
What kind of bread is that?
It's a whole wheat bread. It's delicious.
Okay.
Delicious. And it's all the fixins. It's one of my great treats. Number 2, I'm going a little blank on what you would say it's called, because it's a breakfast sandwich, okay? And they call it there's like different things in Jersey, but basically it's scrambled eggs, okay? It's Taylor ham, it's American cheese, it's ketchup, and it's on a Kaiser bun, and that is
that's just like a breakfast sandwich. Yeah, I've had those before. I used to love breakfast sandwiches. I'm not a ketchup fan, but I used to love them. If you want to get really fat, you go on the croissant. You put them on a croissant.
You put on a croissant. Can I give you my number 1 though? And it's I'm not snobby. It doesn't have to be from New Orleans. A muffaletta sandwich is my favorite sandwich in the world.
I think you're the second guy to say muffaletta. Tell us what's in that again?
Well, it's all the different Italian meats and cheeses, but it's also a black olive tapenade that is usually on it, as well as cut up green olives, and you probably have some pickled stuff in there as well. It is to die for. What is your favorite sandwich?
Okay, I enjoy doing this because I like to say my three and get the reactions. Number one is a little something called a Reuben. I love sauerkraut. I'll go corned beef or pastrami. I like pumpernickel. I love toasted rye. I love a Reuben. Your thoughts on a Reuben?
Oh, I love a Reuben. Do you have a deli you go to get the Reuben? Is our go-to?
I used to go to Greenblatt's. Greenblatt's just closed. It was up on Sunset. It was up near the Chateau Marmont.
Comes with a little pickle, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like pickles.
So delicious.
The second one is a cold sandwich. I have one cold sandwich, two hot sandwiches. I love chicken salad. I love chicken salad on rye. I like grapes. I like walnuts. I like red onion with the cheddar cheese, and I like the toasted rye. Chicken salad, your thoughts?
Out. Chicken salad and egg salad, not a fan, and yet I appreciate all who love it. I can't get it's too mayo-y, it's too saucy. It's not my thing.
So the third one, you're probably not going to like it because it's more controversial than chicken salad. Ryan Russillo said you can't go back to work if you have that for lunch. He was thinking of the odor, I guess. Other people named it as their number one. Tuna melt.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
You like tuna melts?
Absolutely. How do you prepare? All right, so you get the tuna, you get the cheddar, or do you go sweet? What?
I go cheddar, but I can do other cheeses, but I just like cheddar.
Do you go open
toasted
face?
sourdough? I always tell them to put it on rye because rye is healthier for you than the breads, but I love toasted sourdough. Yeah.
Open faced or closed?
I've done both, but lately I've been doing closed, and I went to Billy Reed's in Palm Springs, which is a legendary pie place and a legendary breakfast lunch place. And I got a tuna melt. Tuna melt. I like saying tuna melt.
It's so
interestingly. After I told my lovely Princess Cherry my list, she goes, "What about you like grilled cheese?" Because there was a gourmet grilled cheese place. I almost bumped the tuna melt for the grilled cheese, but I went back to tuna melt. It's
really special. There's a place here in Brooklyn. Again, these aren't like hot spots. These are just local places called Della Pietro's. And the guy in there makes an Italian combo, Craig, that will blow your mind. And he does it on this big hero bun. And it's one of these things that the sandwich itself might be 16 pounds. They just load it up and you can just work on it for a week. And it is just so good. And you like, it's place is called Della Pietro's. You know it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I don't eat a lot of carbs, so it's a treat when I have a sandwich. So it's maybe once every 3 weeks. Do you eat sandwiches often?
I do. And it's for shame because I'm on TV every day and I like to think I'm trying to keep my figure and then I'll be frustrated with myself. But a lot of the reason is I treat myself to a nice sandwich every so often, probably once or twice a week. And then on the weekends, I'll treat myself to a bagel and lox as well. So there's carbs coming from all angles here.
Yeah, I don't eat bagels anymore. When I was in San Francisco, the thing about it is, this is a little different. I don't know if it was like this in the 80s. Because when I went to New York in the 90s, bagels were popular, but they wouldn't toast them. They always toast them out here and put some a schmear on it, some cream cheese. You know, you got to toast the bagels, man. I get an everything bagel. I get a garlic bagel. You toast it. Am I wrong?
No, of course. I'm shocked they wouldn't toast it for you. There's an arrogance and a smugness to New York sometimes that I don't appreciate.
Peter, this was fun, brother.
I can't wait for dinner.
It's going to happen. I'm going to try to figure out who's going to join us. These guys are great. They'll try to drink you under the table. No, I'm
not
kidding.
looking to do that. I'm fine. I'll hang.
No, I'm very disciplined when it comes to that. All right. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it.
You're the man. Thank you, sir.
That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.